Hello, welcome to our Toronto, and I'm your host, Tony. So, Ottawa announced plans back in 2021 to build what it called a high-frequency rail corridor, with stops in Toronto, Peterborough, Ottawa, Montreal, Laval, and Quebec City. The federal government has now confirmed that it intends to go ahead with the Toronto Quebec City link that will be high-speed. This is fantastic news that has been much awaited for. Until now, this has only been talked about and something we dreamed of happening. The Trudeau government will announce plans for a high-speed train linking Quebec City and Toronto in the coming weeks. Proponents of the project hope the train will take passengers from Montreal to Toronto in 3 hours. By car, it takes about 5.5 hours to travel between the two cities. The train is planned to travel up to speeds of 300 kilometers per hour, double the speed of Via Rail's current trains. The train would use a newly built, separate, electrified track and run frequently. In addition to Quebec City, Montreal, and Toronto, it would also serve Trois-Rivières, Laval, Ottawa, and Peterborough. The federal government has chosen a winning bidder out of 3 competing consortia and is expected to announce the news in the next few weeks. The goal is to achieve speeds of 300 kilometers per hour, which would allow the train to complete the Toronto to Quebec City route in approximately 6 hours, cutting current travel times nearly by half of the conventional rail that we currently have. High-speed rail aims to be a greener travel option, potentially using electric-powered trains to reduce emissions along the heavily trafficked route. Faster, more frequent trains can improve regional connectivity, making it easier for commuters, students, and tourists to travel. It could also stimulate economic growth by connecting more businesses and facilitating commerce across these cities. High-speed rail is expensive, with estimates ranging from $80 billion to $120 billion or more for the entire corridor. Government officials and private investors need to decide on cost sharing, and it's expected that federal and provincial funding will play a major role. Building high-speed rail in Canada poses unique challenges due to its varied geography, harsh climate, and existing infrastructure constraints. New tracks designed specifically for high-speed rail would be necessary in this case, as existing lines are shared with freight trains, which operate at lower speeds. Let's take a look at what the plan would be for the high-speed train. So on the map here, in the blue is the current Via Rail train line that extends from Toronto to Quebec City. The proposed new high-speed rail line, in the one that is depicted in yellow, that extends well to the north of Lake Ontario, this would clearly need to be a new set of electric rails. While we had our transit troubles here in Toronto, this project would be in the hands of the federal government. Therefore, hopefully this will go better than what we've seen recently here in the city. While I would be optimistic about this, we still have some ways to go. Hopefully we don't end up in a similar situation where the project gets bogged down with politics where one party overpromises and then the next government is forced to deal with that. High-speed rail has been something that has been infrastructure that has really been lacking in Canada overall. So this will be something that will be very new for all of us and would really transform the transportation landscape in the country. In fact, as it stands right now, Canada is the only G7 country that does not have high-speed rail. A previous provincial high-speed rail plan by the Kathleen Wynne Liberals was scrapped when the Doug Ford Conservatives took power. However, there is something that has been left out of all of this, and that is the Southwest Ontario corridor, which is also a real busy one. I'm of course talking about the Toronto, Kitchener, London, Windsor corridor that is currently served by low-speed rail. There are as of right now no plans announced for this sector. Personally, I think that there needs to be more access to high-speed rail through Toronto Pearson International Airport. I think that there will be a great opportunity to connect our international airport to southwestern Ontario via Pearson. This would not only be accessible from Union Station in downtown Toronto, but it could also serve as a connection for passengers transiting on flights in Toronto from southwestern Ontario. This would also reduce the amount of flights that need to use gate space and runway slots at Pearson to free these up for more important international flights. Think about it. Flights that depart Pearson that go to destinations such as Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City, London, and Windsor take up dozens of gate spaces and runway slots every single day. these are all for trips that could be more efficiently done with high-speed trains. I think that we have a very high potential for high-speed rail here in Toronto and the surrounding area, which has been very underdeveloped for decades. Creating this infrastructure would have a real domino effect on not only the economy development, but overall transit efficiency. This is not to mention that the rail network is actually, in most cases, more reliable than air transportation, which is very prone to delays for labor disruptions, mechanical issues, and weather. Additionally, trains have much more capacity than aircraft do. Therefore, these would be able to better serve the economy and travel markets between these cities. My only reservations, however, here are that with the amount of time that this will take to be completed, as of right now, the federal government is confirming that they are intending to go ahead with this high-speed train line between Toronto and Quebec City that will make several stops along the way, including Ottawa and Montreal. However, as of right now, there is no firm contract in place for the rail line to be built, or estimated completion date for that matter. Aside from all of the problems that exist between now and the time that this rail line would be finished, my concern would be that by the time it was completed, it would already be behind our transit infrastructure needs. While I think this is a step in the right direction, I think that there should be more plans being made now for even more high-speed trains. These should also be expedited as soon as possible with shovels in the ground tomorrow. So here's my question to you. Other than the Windsor and Quebec City corridor, where else do you think that plans should be made right now for high-speed rail? Let me know in the comments. I hope that you liked the video. If so, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed and want to be notified of new videos that are released, please click on the Art Toronto button here. This is the video that I would recommend for you to watch next, and I'm sure that you're going to love it. Here's the playlist for all of the latest in transit news and views that you're going to find very informative and interesting. And finally, here is the latest video. Thanks for watching and happy transiting.